The gala shimmered with gold and pride, a glittering spectacle where wealth played its annual masquerade. Chandeliers in the Grand Regent Hall cast a constellation of light across marble floors, their glow reflecting off champagne flutes and diamond cufflinks. Laughter bounced through the air, sharp with the edge of arrogance. This was the Vancraftoft family's charity gala, a stage for the elite to parade their superiority while cloaked in philanthropy. Every smile hid a calculation, every gesture a reminder of who belonged and who didn't. Then she walked in, and the room held its breath. Ava Sinclair stepped through the entrance, her presence a quiet force that didn't demand attention but commanded it. Her black gown flowed like ink, elegant and unapologetic, her poise a contrast to the ostentatious chatter around her. She was a black woman who moved with the calm of someone who knew her worth, her dark eyes steady, her steps deliberate. Conversations faltered, heads turned. To some, her grace was a curiosity, to others, a threat. At the registration desk, a hostess in a crisp white blouse glanced up, her smile professional but tight. "Good evening, name please, Ava Sinclair," she replied, her voice even, like a still lake. The hostess tapped at her tablet, her brow furrowing. "I'm sorry, ma'am, I don't see you on the list. This event is invitation. Only, I'm aware," Ava said, unruffled. "I was invited." A man's voice sliced through the moment, smooth and coated with charm that didn't quite hide its venom. "Let me guess, someone forwarded you the link." The crowd parted slightly as Carter Vancraftoft, heir to the family's sprawling empire, stepped forward. His grin was polished, his tuxedo tailored to perfection, but his eyes gleamed with the confidence of someone who'd never been challenged. Happens every year. People see charity and assume it's an open bar. Snickers rippled through the onlookers, spreading like a spark on dry grass. Carter tilted his head, his tone patronizing. "I suggest you leave quietly, before it gets awkward." Ava's gaze didn't waver. "Awkward for who?" she asked, her voice soft but sharp enough to cut through the laughter. The chuckles faltered, but only for a moment. Then from the grand staircase at the far end of the hall, a new presence descended, slow and deliberate, as if the room existed for her entrance alone. Eleanor Vancraftoft, matriarch of the family, moved like royalty, her diamond earrings catching the light like tiny warning flares. Her silver hair was swept into an immaculate chignon, her emerald gown a statement of untouchable power. "Carter, darling," she called, her voice dripping with authority. "What's the commotion?" Carter gestured toward Ava, his smirk unwavering. "She's not on the list, Mother." Eleanor's descent was a performance, each step measured to draw every eye. She stopped a few feet from Ava, her smile as cold as the crystal flute in her hand. "My dear," she said, her tone sweet enough to mask the poison beneath, "you must understand this is a private event. For our partners are investors. Not everyone qualifies." The words landed like a velvet slap. Whispers buzzed among the guests, some amused, others eager for the drama to unfold. Ava met Eleanor's gaze, her expression unshaken. "You're sure my name isn't there?" Eleanor's smile tightened, her eyes narrowing. "Quite sure." Ava nodded, a faint curve to her lips. "Then let's be certain." Before she could say more, Eleanor's expression shifted, her amusement sharpening into something crueler. She reached for a waiter's tray nearby, her fingers closing around a glass of deep red wine. "Allow me to help you find the exit," she said, her voice a mockery of kindness. Then, with a deliberate flick of her wrist, she poured the entire glass down Ava's arm. The room gasped, a collective inhale that seemed to pull the air from the hall. The wine gleamed under the chandeliers, a crimson cascade that stained Ava's sleeve and dripped onto the polished floor. Someone laughed, a nervous bark. Another guest raised their phone, the cameras flash a brief stab of light. Eleanor handed the empty glass back to the waiter with a flourish. "Accidents happen," she said smoothly, her smile unwavering. Carter chuckled, his eyes glinting with approval. "Mother, really?" Ava didn't move, she didn't flinch. Her silence was heavier than any outburst, a weight that pressed against the room's smugness. Slowly she raised her hand, wiping the wine from her skin with a napkin. her movements precise, unhurried. Then she looked at Eleanor, her gaze steady as stone. "You're certain I don't belong here?" Eleanor tilted her head, her voice a purr. "I'm certain of many things, Ms. Sinclair, was it?" Ava's lips curved slightly, not quite a smile. "Then let's test one of them." She unlocked her phone with a single, deliberate motion. One tap, and the chandeliers flickered, their light stuttering like a heartbeat. The music, a lilting classical piece, cut off mid-note. A murmur rippled through the crowd as every screen in the ballroom, monitors on the walls, tablets in the hands of staff, even the massive display above the stage, went black. Then, in unison, they flared back to life, glowing with a golden hue. Bold letters materialized across them, * Apex Stratos Global Live Merger Announcement. * The host's microphone crackled, the MC voice trembling through the speakers. What's happening? A second later, Ava's face appeared on every screen, her image serene and commanding beside the Apex Stratos logo and a live ticker feed. A headline scrolled beneath, * Ava Sinclair, Chief Executive Officer, Apex Stratos Global. The silence that followed was profound, a sacred hush that swallowed every whisper, every smirk. Eleanor's painted smile cracked, her glass trembling in her hand. That's not possible," she stammered, her voice barely audible. "Oh, it's very possible," Ava said, her tone soft but unyielding. "You were negotiating a $5 billion merger with Apex Stratos. I came tonight to finalize it, personally." Carter's mouth opened, then closed, his charm dissolving into confusion. "You mean you're the one who—" "Yes," Ava cut in, her voice calm but slicing through his words. "The one you mocked, the one your mother just assaulted for the amusement of your guests." Eleanor forced a laugh, brittle and unconvincing. "Now, Ms. Sinclair, surely we can overlook a misunderstanding." Ava's eyes sharpened, her voice cutting like a blade through marble. "This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was instinct. The moment you saw me, you decided I didn't belong. You turned cruelty into a performance, and you expected me to shrink." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle, but tonight the stage is mine. She turned to the nearest screen and tapped her phone again. The Apex logo glowed brighter, followed by a new message that sent a chill through the room. * Apex Vancraftoft merger cancelled, effective immediately. * The gasp that followed was seismic, a collective shock that seemed to shake the chandeliers. Executives scrambled for their phones, their faces pale. Investors shouted, their voices overlapping in a frantic cacophony. Eleanor's composure shattered entirely, her voice rising to a near shriek. "You can't do this." "I just did." Ava replied, her calm unshaken. "You built your empire on exclusion, on the assumption that people like me could never hold the power. I built mine on excellence, on results. The difference is, mine doesn't crumble when faced with arrogance." The crowd that had laughed now whispered her name, their cameras still rolling, capturing every second of the Vancraftoft family's unraveling. Eleanor's eyes blazed, her voice trembling with fury. "You've ruined us." Ava met her gaze unflinching. "No, Eleanor, you did that the moment you mistook my silence for weakness." A slow clap started somewhere in the back, hesitant at first, then growing into a wave of applause that filled the hall. It wasn't unanimous. Some faces remained frozen in shock, others in anger, but it was unstoppable. Ava glanced at the red stain drying on her sleeve, a quiet symbol of the humiliation they'd tried to inflict. "Consider this," she said, her voice carrying across the room like a verdict. "Wine washes off. Reputations don't." She turned and walked toward the exit, her steps as steady as they'd been when she entered. Reporters outside caught her departure, their cameras flashing like a storm as she stepped into her car. She didn't look back. Within minutes, news alerts erupted across every platform. * Vancraftoft merger terminated. Stock plummets 42% in hours. * In the back seat of her car, Ava sat framed by the city's glowing skyline. Her assistant's voice crackled through her phone. "Are you all right, ma'am?" Ava glanced at the fading streak of wine on her hand, a mark that told a story of defiance. "Perfect," she said softly. She poured wine to shame me. Instead, I used it to end her reign. The city stretched out before her, its lights bright and untamed, a world reshaped by her presence. Some stains don't diminish you, they become a testament, a reminder to the world of who should never be underestimated. If you believe dignity should always stand taller than arrogance, share this story. Let it echo. Tell the world where you're watching from and which moment struck you deepest. Because silence shields privilege, but courage rewrites the future.